Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Variant Cast, another season of Invincible in the books. We're going to be breaking it down, talking about it, giving our thoughts, if this lives up to the prior two seasons, if we're excited for season 4, when season 4 is going to be happening, and all that great stuff. So just, I guess, all in all, with the season, Trent, how did you feel about the story? How do you feel about where we went from episode 1 to episode 8, and will you be keeping that Amazon subscription going for the next 2 years as they slowly animate season 4?
Yep, you gotta pay those animators somehow, so I will be keeping that subscription online. I will not be downloading Rocket Money, but
Do you even know how many subscriptions you have on your phone right now? Without looking, I'll give you this car.
I don't. I do not. I do not.
Okay, all right, continue.
Okay, but I did love the season. The season was great. The season, I mean, start to finish was really strong. I thought that going into the season, there was like a lot of events that I feel like people were hyping up from the comics, being like, "Oh yeah, this event's gonna come up, or this character's gonna be introduced." And I feel like all that stuff like paid off, and all that stuff like really did live up to the hype of it. And I did I do feel like more enthusiastic going into the next season, as more than I did last season, for whatever reason. Maybe it's just, now that we kind of know where the story is kind of going, but at the same time, we have a lot more questions. But yeah, overall I thought this was a really strong season, and probably up there with season 1 as probably my favorite seasons of the show. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with it. I really like season 2 upon rewatch, and I think kind of watching them all in a row, as I kind of rewatched it in anticipation for this season. I feel like it's a really cohesive story. I think I can definitely understand why season 2 feels like maybe the weaker link out of the three, and I think that mainly has to do with the storyline. It kind of diverges in season 2. Uh, Focusing more on Mark and Angstrom and all of that stuff, and that storyline progresses in this season. But we kind of divert from like the traditional like Viltrumite storyline. In this season, we get a ton of that. So the stakes feel higher. As always, the writing is awesome. I see a lot of criticisms about the show's writing, mainly just people frustrated that Mark isn't always doing the correct thing. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people get protagonist confused with someone that makes the right decision all the time. And Mark isn't that. And he's a teenager, and he makes silly teenager decisions, and he has a lot of power. And that's where the intrigue of the story really comes from, is this teenager having powers, trying to navigate being a universal being on a level that he couldn't even conceptualize just 2 years ago. So a lot of the character flaws, I guess you could say, with Mark Grayson are intentional and well thought out, and the character dynamics between like his family, Oliver, Debbie, it's great stuff. I really enjoyed the family dynamic this season, along with just kind of the overarching themes of what they play around with in the DC universe a lot with Batman or Spider-Man on not killing, and how not killing leads to more death and stuff like that. This is a very thorough kind of explanation of that, and I really enjoyed that. Really enjoyed the action sequences. People can dog on the animation. There's a lot of goofy bits. It definitely reminds you a lot of traditional anime at points, but in, I think, a charming way, in my opinion. I know I'm watching Invincible. It's a very like very unique art style, and I'm with it. What did you think of the animation?
No, I thought it was great as well. I thought that the animation for the most part this season was really good, especially during the action scenes. The yeah, I mean, I don't really know what I feel like we keep going on and on and about people not liking the animation, but it really is just something that you either like, or you just have to get over that if you don't like it. But no, I really liked it, and especially, we have this season with like a lot of different superheroes, and seeing like how they can you know keep coming up with like original like sometimes semi-original, sometimes like very original designs of characters, and they keep coming up with stuff like that. And yeah, I just think I just really like it across the board.
Yeah, and I mean, I've decided that I'm gonna go ahead and just take the take the plunge and read the comics because I don't feel like waiting. Because this this like community has a very interesting way of dealing with spoilers because this is a like it's a fairly direct adaptation. They definitely change stuff, but it fairly directly follows the comics, and the comics have a start and an end. So most likely it's going to take like 10 seasons to get to the end of the where the comics were, and I kind of just want to know I and how the community kind of deals with this is a lot of people have done this where they've gotten intrigued after season 1 or season 2, gone and read the comics, and what they'll do is just be like they'll post like a screenshot of some comic event and be like, y'all aren't ready for this, and it's just like a blatant spoiler. But like,
Yeah,
oh, like you kind of alluded to, like I knew who Conquest was. I shouldn't have known who Conquest was, but I had
yeah,
known who Conquest was from season 2 because people were
yeah.
like, y'all not ready for him.
Yeah, these Viltrumites got nothing on Conquest. Just you
Yeah.
wait, just you wait.
And I guess that's not a spoiler, even though it's spoil. I don't care. I've decided that I just kind of want to read the comics and see what happens, and see how they adapt adapt uh, that going forward. And I'm very very happy with the first 3 seasons. It I thought the kind of plot point with uh, Cecil was interesting because I don't know. I think it's a fairly popular opinion that like Cecil is just right. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, he's right most of the time. Like he's like yeah, you did just like break, or yeah, your girlfriend is in a coma, but like there are people out there that are gonna need you to help out. Like it's objectively right.
Or just like with when Dr. Seismic trapped all of Earth's heroes and the Reaniman came in and saved the day, and he's upset because Sinclair isn't in prison. And I can understand that because he was personally affected by him. But he
Yeah,
also just saved everyone's life with them. And it's going to be interesting because we find out at the end of this season that they have the bodies of like the Invincibles from other dimensions, and they're making Reanimin with those, which is sounds like it's going to be juiced. So that's going to be fun, and I'm sure Mark is going to absolutely love that. But it there are times where Mark makes no sense, and Cecil is just the most rational adult in the room. And it's weird. It's weird because he is like the government. He's the CDA. It's very strange that he's almost the overarching lawful good, I guess you could say.
yeah, yeah. He's like the voice of reason in the show most of the time. Him and like Debbie. But back to like what you're saying about like the parent, like the family dynamics and stuff. Like I really do like how uh there are, I feel like there's a lot of stories, where those kind of side characters kind of get pushed into the background like as the story goes on, and it feels like Mark's mom has just been there like every episode. She's got something to say, to Mark or Cecil or something like that, and I feel like it's like the background characters really make the show. And we saw in the last episode, we saw like what happened to make Robot go by Rex in the end, and we saw that hinted at last season, and that was also just like a really good revelation, but really good story moment.
Yeah, I do know some people had problems with that funeral scene. Just like it is kind of a weird scene.
Yeah.
There's Ray just in the background, having her moment there, staring off. And then Rudy changes his name to Rex after already stealing his DNA, then takes his name, and then Monster Girl just immediately is like calling him Rex, which is just kind of strange because they had a weird like thing early on, and then Eve is crying about Rex, how he was, her first everything, and then that makes Mark like want her more. Then they start making out outside the cemetery. It's kind of a weird collection of interactions going on at this funeral. But at the same time, maybe I think that's exactly what Rex would have wanted.
Yeah, exactly. He would have wanted chaos.
Yeah. And there was a lot of weird stuff going on there. So I think the finale made me care about Oliver a whole lot more. I think Oliver was kind of just there a lot of the time, and his whole character was kind of just, I'm a kid with powers.
Yeah.
But they did develop him more in just like how he thinks, how he remembers everything from even when he was an infant, which there's some really cool character stuff with that, like how one of his first memories is in that cave while Mark is defending him and his mom, and like he remembers that, and like that's kind of an explanation as to why he's so protective over Mark and like wanting to fight for him and help him out all the time. And it's a really tough watch when Conquest is just like stretching him.
I really thought that we were gonna lose him. I thought he was done for.
I had, even if he wasn't done for and they were able to like reattach him, I did think he was gonna in half him.
Yeah.
But he doesn't. He's still alive for now. I'm rooting for him, and I definitely liked him more in after the finale, and just like actually like cared about what happened to him. And just the whole family unit, I think, is finally healing, which I think it's inevitable that Omni-Man is going to come back and kind of throw a wrench in all of that. And that's just like another compelling part of the story, is he's not dead. He's just away.
Yeah. And they don't like going into that, like they don't rush into things, but they also like there's things that could have taken all season that happened in like an episode, or like the progression of Oliver's powers, or like this whole finale could have been stretched out. But I feel like they do such a good job of keeping the pacing super fast, but also like letting characters breathe sometimes. Or like in the case of Omni-Man, like we haven't seen him interact with like any of the main characters for like a season and a half, and like it's gonna, like you said, it's just gonna be more rewarding when he shows up to Earth, and it's gonna be just like almost like a natural progression to the story, which I feel like is just amazing.
I also just love how like this isn't a show that you could just pick up and watch, like start in season 3 and it makes sense eventually. Like it wouldn't make sense if you hadn't watched the previous seasons. Like just going through like episode 2, that's the big like thing with the Reaniman, And that requires having watched an episode from season 1 to know the full extent of who Sinclair is, what these things are, how strong they are. And then they're also in the finale as well, where they, almost take down Omni-Man, kind of. And then, like, episode 5, there's the crime syndicate and the dragon episode, which is set up earlier when Titan takes over, like, the city and all of those dealings. And then Powerplex, which is a payoff of the Chicago attack and how he's creating his own villains and the ramifications of all of these events. It's much like what Zack Snyder wanted to do with Batman v Superman, but it's just one episode and it's so much better executed. And that could be like a whole season of build-up. It's just Powerplex, but that's just one episode. And then you have the Invincible Wars, which goes off Angstrom and all of those different flashbacks that seemingly made no sense to start season 2. How they were just showing us other dimensions. Like, why are we being shown other dimensions? Pays off, not even for the finale, but for like what feels like a special called Invincible Wars. It feels like a finale, but it's not, because then we have Conquest, which then goes off the Viltrum Empire, and almost every episode is paying something off as well as setting something up in the future, which is kind of like the perfect way to do a villain of the week kind of overarching story. Like, it's still villain of the week, but those villains have been set up and have been developed. They're not just random thoughts that are created and like, oh, this would be cool to have Mark fight this. It's all like they've been setting up that one like desert guy that needs a male host. They've been I forgot his name, but they've been setting that up since the season 1, and I assume that's eventually going to pay off. But just those little scenes that just kind of feel like comedic, like little filler, will eventually pay off and become probably a reoccurring character at that point, even though it already is. But yeah,
and like Battle Beast, like it's gonna be crazy to see what he's got a ship now, and he's gonna be just loose in the galaxy, and so maybe he'll get to the Viltrumites before Mark does. Who knows? But
I am curious about. I hope we get like a Battle Beast episode, kind of like how we got now in the Alien episode in season 2, because there is like others of his species, like on the like council against the Viltrums. You see like a Battle Beast-esque creature. But I'm curious because he seems so powerful, more powerful than a Viltrumite. It seems like he could take on like 4 Viltrumites at once and probably come out a winner. So it's interesting where that power scale falls and how many of them there are, and like what kind of society do these creatures have.
He's like one of the most interesting characters to me, because it's just like that like short or that mini like show that they put on after the credits each week, that I feel like it's almost like they started out with them being kind of like after credit scenes, and then it turned into them kind of just being like a mini story, like a mini side story that's happening just like on the other side of the galaxy, which I loved. But I'm very interested to see what happens with Battle Beast.
I'm interested to see if they're going to do any more specials. They obviously did the Adam Eve special. I know people have suggested like a Rex special, but the Adam Eve special really, really worked in the sense of where it was released and how it was referenced later. Like, I think this season Rex pulls out the photo that she ends up manipulating at the end of the special to kind of show her what if family. And like there's payoff from the special later in the season. So I don't know how much I would like a Rex centric thing, considering he's dead, but maybe like Rex / Rudy or I guess his name is Rex 2 now. You just do a Rex special, and it not only covers the origin of Rexplode, but also Rex Robot. I don't know if that's how they're distinguishing them, but that would make sense to me, you know?
Yeah. No, I'd like to see that as well. I would also, I'd like to see, you know, like a Monster Girl special, or, I mean, we kind of got a, what was his name? Power Play? Is that Powerplex? Yeah. Like, we kind of got one of his, but yeah, I love those random side character spin-offs that they do. Like, yeah, the Powerplex episode was so well done.
And I feel like we've been like, I don't know, we're in a world where one of the most popular games in the world is a superhero shooter. And I feel like we've been waiting for a superhero RPG for so long, and the Invincible universe is like the best place to do it. So, you know, Bethesda, Obsidian, any of those RPG studios wanna pick up the Invincible IP and do like a Invincible RPG. I think this would be
an Invincible game being developed right now.
Not counting the Invincible Guarding the Globe.
Nope.
Which is a mobile game that is just a time sink that you just upgrade heroes over and over again until you turn to dust.
Robert Kirkman confirms AAA Invincible game is still happening following season finale.
Okay. I mean, that's good to hear. It probably will involve Invincible as the main character in like an action adventure type of thing. But if they do an RPG where you get to create your own like superhero and stuff, I think that would work really well in the universe because of, you know, just how fresh and alive the, you know, street level seems, and how it, you know, everything just seems so, I don't know, reachable in a way that you could just place an OC in there and it would make sense. Hey, you're on this superhero team and you gotta, you know, get your following up or your power up to get on this, be able to fight them. And maybe early in the game, like if you try to fight a Viltrumite, you just die instantly, but you could slowly work up to get on that level. Something like that I think would be really, really fun, like working your power levels up. But we'll see what they pull out. I know they were talking about a live action movie for a while, but those talks have quieted down a bit, I feel.
Yeah, there's some scenes where I'm always just curious on how it would work in live action, and they've been saying that they're gonna make a live action movie for years, and I mean, maybe if they do like they could do like a different take on it or something, maybe do it from a different perspective, or I guess that then it wouldn't be Invincible. So then
wouldn't, but you could do a different universe. Like, oh, this is a different timeline where Mark does this. Like maybe a universe where Mark beats Omni-Man and kills him. I think because like how do you tell an Invincible story in just 2.5 hours? Like it would be really hard to tell the story of Invincible in 2.5 hours. Like, is the climax Omni-Man leaving and Mark being all bloody? Like, I don't know if that works. I don't know if that works for a movie unless you're going to do a number 2 and number 3 and you're going to try to tell the whole story. I just don't. If you were only going to make one movie, I just think you would have to change it a bit. It would have to be a different take. I just don't think that this story works in a single movie format.
Yeah, I agree with you.
But, you know, it could. It really could. I just think that their efforts and their money are better spent on animators, personally.
Yeah, let's get some more of them.
But
some people.
Yeah, get some more of them. That's what we're going to be saying about Invincible seasons going forward. Hopefully that this is just another year wait and not a 2-year wait. Everything projects that it's just going to be a year. Should be talking about this again come next spring of 2025, I would assume. we'll be talking some Invincible, but who knows? I did want to, before we get out of here, give a shout out to his Walking Dead, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who voiced Conquest, absolutely killed it. Has like a few different monologues in that final fight that are absolutely insane. I love them. That it's up there with the season 1 finale. Might be the best episode in the whole series. Season 3, episode 8. It is chilling.
Yeah, totally agree. One of the best episodes, top 2 for sure. Jeffrey Dean Morgan, like I always love when like in a great actor like that, and like somebody who does a lot of voice acting, like can still surprise you with a good monologue. So I was thoroughly invested in that whole episode, on the edge of my seat, and I think half of that was thanks to Jeffrey Dean Morgan and Stephen Ewan, the Negan versus Glenn rematch.
Yeah, and I'm just looking through this. I am definitely shocked to see that Ezra Miller only voiced D.A. Sinclair in the first episode, and then they've since replaced him. I did hear that was a big part of season 2's delays, was just the voices. They had a lot of famous voices. It was hard to get them in the studio to do their lines. So I don't know if that was a PR decision or a time budget decision, but yeah, D.A. Sinclair has been revoiced by someone else. I lost the name, but it's no longer Ezra Miller, so just another loss for the Ezra heads out there, which I'm sure there are dozens of, or a dozen.
Yeah.
On a farm somewhere, they're chilling. But I appreciate everyone for watching this far. If you have any requests of stuff you would like to see us cover in the future, go ahead and drop it in the comments below. And if you haven't subscribed already, we would love that. Absolutely adore that. That would be the highlight of my week. So if you could go ahead and hit that subscribe, it would be very appreciated. You got anything else for us, Trent?
No, thank you all for listening. Make sure to tune in for the next episode where we talk about some Avengers Doomsday news, and let us know in the comments who was your favorite alternate version of Invincible. Personally, mine was Hairvincible with the long hair. And yeah, thank you all for listening.
Yeah. Shout out Mohawk Invincible, and peace.
Deuces.